Having understand how our pivot table works, the next thing to also start having an idea of is our charts and our graphs. Our charts and our graph. Still under your inserts, we have something we have as recommended chart here, and we have our charts here. We have different charts. Now, we have different charts that we can use on Excel to depict or to show your story at just a quick glance. Which of the charts or graph to use solely depends on what you are trying to achieve. This class is not an in-depth class that will take us into when to use a bar chart or a column chart, but it is just to introduce us to the type of charts that we have. So if you come under your recommended charts, under your recommended charts, under our all charts, you can see that we have quite a number of charts. We have something we call our column chart. Under our column, we have clustered, we have stacked, we have 100% stacked, we have our 3D, we have our 3D stacked, we have our 100% 3D, we have our 3D columns. After this, we have our line. This is what we use majorly in our trend analysis. For our column chart, we use it most times when we are trying to differentiate, when we are trying to see the difference between something. For this, we use it majorly when we are trying to do our trend analysis. And then we have our line charts, we have our stacked line, we have our 100% stack, we have with marker and the like. Then we have our pie. We have our pie. With our pie also, we have our donuts over here. With our pie also, we have our donuts. So when we use our pie or our donuts, is when we are looking at a percentage composition. You have a set of number and you want to see how each one of them contributes to the whole pie. That's when you use the pie. Also, you have your bar chart. In your bar chart, it does almost the same thing with your column chart, just the orientation. Then we have your area chart also to show the area. We have your scattered plots. If you are good with physics, there's a time we did divide the x in your physics or your mathematics. Typical question in all the secondary school mathematics where you plot your dy and your dx, and you use this to actually look at the relationship between your variables. Then you also have your map to talk about your location. You have your stock, you have your surface, you have your radar, you have your tree map, you have your sunburst, you have your histogram, you have your box and whisker, you have your waterfall, you have your funnel, and then if you want to combine multiple charts together also, you also have it. So these are all the charts that we have under our Excel that we can use to communicate whatever we are trying to communicate. So for this first question, we are trying to see which of these states or which of this region is giving the highest net sales. For me, I would prefer to use a bar chart or a column chart because with that, I can see at a glance how each of the regions are performing. So I can easily come here and pick on any of these to pick on this my column charts, and with this I can see at just a glance how sales is performing across each of the region. With this, I can see that the east is giving us the highest revenue. I can see that followed by north. I can see that followed by south and then west. So if you want to do further formatting, you can do that on your own by adding other data label or any other thing that you feel you need. So that is that about your first question. For the second question, we are looking at profitability. We are looking at the profits that was actually generated from each of these. So let's see how we can calculate this. I want to remove the grand total. And then again insert. This time around I want to use this. So I'm using this so that I can see the difference between the yes and the no. So I can see the difference between the yes and the no. And definitely I can do my data labeling to see for the grand total. So with this, I can easily plot a graph that is communicating the profit that was generated from each of this category, and also breaking it down whether on our yes or on our no, to see, or for on return, to see how they all contribute to this whole profit. For our last question that we dealt with, which is checking the trend across months, trend of sales across months. For this, I've mentioned while explaining earlier that for trend, your line chart is the best. So I would prefer to use my line charts over here so that I can see the performance across months. So I can easily introduce this my line charts, and with this I can easily see that my January, my sales was this up. February we had a downtrend, up to March. Then we had an uptrend, a little uptrend in April, which continued to May, and then in June we had another fall in price before it picked up again a little bit in July. Then we had a good sales in August, and then a downtrend again in September, which further dip in October, and then going up again in November, and then December again we are already down again. So this shows how your sales are responding to months. How your sales are responding to months. So if a data like this is collected over time, then we can use this for our predictive analysis. This is one of the two things they use in our exchange markets, in our trading markets, whether you are a crypto trader or you are a forex trader. When you use your price action, that is you using your price from previous month, how it has been responding, to look at the pattern, whether you are in an uptrend or downtrend, to look at what is possible or obtainable in the coming months. So with this, we have been able to introduce ourselves to our charts. And just like I said, this is not all we have to charts. We have charts that map as charts. We have quite a number of them, tunnel, and then however, the one you are using or will be using depends on what you are dealing with. Averagely, in a company, you will be using things like your bar charts, your column charts, your line charts, averagely. And that is why all these are the basic. However, that does not stop you from digging deep to learn further on how your charts and graphs, how they work on Excel. See you on the next one.